Chapter 9. A New Beginning. Baby is born. There was peace once again. My husband was allowed back into the room. Everything was going well. At this time, I realized they had drugged me up, and I felt so sleepy. Just before I slept off, I heard a loud cry. Such a beautiful sound. They brought her close to my face, and I saw the most amazing view. My baby girl was finally here. She was healthy, strong, and beautiful. I could finally sleep knowing that everything was going to be okay. Some hours after I woke up and came back to my senses, I could not wait to see her again. I heard they placed her in an incubator to help her with breathing. She was okay, but because she was premature, she needed special care. Early the next day, they brought her to me. She was 5 pounds and looked very tiny. It scared me to hold her, thinking she might break. She was so petite that regular newborn clothes didn't fit her. Despite all this, she scored a 9 on her APGAR test and had excellent results in all the other tests. It was fun going through the process of breastfeeding, changing the first diaper, and all those good stuff. Laughter all around. After 3 days, they discharged us from the hospital. After taking the baby home, I had to be admitted back to the hospital the next day. I had developed a high fever. We thought it might be because I was not breastfeeding well, but after further tests, we found out that I had a bacterial infection. I had to stay 3 more days in the hospital to receive treatment. During those days, my adoptive mother took a forced crash course on how to take care of a newborn. Since everything had happened so fast, we were still missing some baby items, so she had to work wonders to accommodate the baby on such short notice. She passed with flying colors. I recovered splendidly and could soon go back with my family. The one once called barren, the one that others looked at and pitied her misfortune, was now a proud mother. My tears were replaced by laughter, and now I was being celebrated. My God had performed a mighty miracle in me. In His time, He made it possible, and today my premature baby girl is 9 years old, 2022. She is very smart, tall, active, and healthy. Glory be to God. Wait a minute, another one? But wait, it does not end there. I honestly believe that this was the ultimate miracle, and God was done with me. My husband one day reminded me that God had said His children will sit around His table and not His child, meaning there's going to be more than one. Therefore, He concluded that we would have another baby. 2 years after, it happened again. After having my baby girl, it would seem that everything in my reproductive system was regularized. I started having my periods regularly, which did not happen before. My health was much better in all aspects. I was no longer worried about pregnancies, miscarriages, or any of that. I was so busy and happy with our baby girl that having another child had not crossed my mind. One afternoon, I noticed some light spotting, which had me concerned. My period had normalized, and it was too early for it to come. I was not feeling so well. I shared the feelings with my husband, as I suspected that because of my blood condition, the blood was clotting. I had not been taking the blood thinning pills, so I thought that was the reason I was having the spotting. This, my husband, again. Once again, my husband was way ahead of me and suggested that it could be implantation bleeding, which is a small amount of light spotting or bleeding that occurs about 10 to 14 days after conception. I dismissed the thought and continued with my normal chores. Nevertheless, I could not stop thinking about that possibility. It was hard to grasp, because since we had our baby girl, we never tried treatments or worked on getting pregnant again. Moreover, after all I had experienced, the odds of having another baby were very low. Oh, but then I thought, nothing is impossible for God. It's another positive test. That same evening, I could not keep quiet. I got dressed and went to the pharmacy to buy a home pregnancy test. As soon as I got home, I took the test. I was not sure of what it could reveal, so I left it hidden in the restroom for a while. After I came back to it, with shaky hands, I grabbed it without looking. I took a deep breath and opened my eyes. It's another positive test. Oh my. I shouted and shared the result with my husband. We both jumped and shouted for joy. We knew it would be a long process, but we were confident that everything was going to be all right. Just as with our previous pregnancy, I had to be on bed rest with multiple injections a day. I had the circlage performed by the third month and took all the necessary steps to ensure a safe pregnancy. Just as with our baby girl, we declared life a blessing over this baby. My husband's dream. I remembered my husband told me he had a dream where God told him that our next baby would be a boy. I laughed because at that time, we were not even pregnant yet. We were still enjoying our miracle baby girl. Now pregnant, I was eager to buy baby clothes, but was not sure of the baby's gender. My husband was very convinced, said we should buy for a boy. On one of the checkup appointments, the doctor tried to verify the baby's gender, but it was not possible. My husband always laughed and said, I know it's going to be a boy. Hooray! It is a boy. Some weeks after, during another checkup appointment, which my husband could not attend, the doctor verified that certainly the baby was a boy. He expressed some shock and asked me how could my husband be so certain? How did he know? I just answered, that man has a divine connection. He must have friends in high places. I laughed. We were very excited and happy. At almost 7 months, we once again moved to the city so we could be closer to the hospital. Different from our baby girl, my belly was huge. I found it very hard to eat, walk, or sleep. Nonetheless, I was so grateful for all that was happening that I did not complain. Another 34 weeks. Again, at week 34, I was more uncomfortable than usual. This particular day, I was not having pain, but my abdomen was constantly getting tight, and I felt I could hardly breathe or move. I called my doctor and mentioned to him how I was feeling. He suggested I should go to the hospital for monitoring. I was supposed to do the checkup and then see him the next day in his office. The nurse that was monitoring me asked me about my bags and documents. I told her I had just come for a checkup and that I would talk to the doctor the next day to schedule a date for the C-section. She was surprised and replied that the monitor showed I was in active labor and she doubted I could go home that day. I was surprised too and immediately called the doctor to inform him about the recent development. He said he would contact the hospital directly. A few minutes later, he called back and confirmed that we had to do an emergency C-section that night. I was a bit upset because I really thought I'll get back home that afternoon to eat a delicious plate of rice, beans, and chicken. A huge baby is born. I wasn't even allowed to drink water and was forced to shower and prepare for the C-section. I tried to behave this time. However, they were not willing to take any chances, and they tied my hands and gave me a relaxing drug before I could react. Everything went smoothly, and I once again heard a cry, only that it was very low and soft. My almost 9-pound baby boy was out, but not everything was okay. They immediately took him to the intensive care unit. The baby was not passing his first poo, and he seemed to have an infection and probably a heart condition. They suspected I could have a bacteria too, so I was not allowed to visit him. I could only see photos of him. He was in the intensive care unit and connected to some machines. My second miracle, my newborn in the ICU. I was sad and wanted to hold my baby in my arms to comfort him. They kept pinching him for tests and medications. I was once again uneasy and concerned for my baby. I prayed and asked God to turn things around for us. I knew in my heart that if I could just hold him in my arms, he would be okay. After 3 days, when the bacteria treatment was completed, I was allowed to visit my baby in the intensive care area. I was heartbroken to see him there, still and delicate. They showed me how to put my hand through the incubator and touch him. I spoke to him and sang to him, and I declared life over him. The next day, he was already better, and they allowed me to take him out of the incubator. He started reacting positively to my warmth. Even the doctor acknowledged that he was improving and they no longer see anything wrong with his heart. He could pass his first poo, but he still had to stay in the hospital for a few days more to treat the infection. I was discharged but visited him and fed him every single day until he was discharged as well. Mommy and newborn at home. Once home, the first months were a bit hard. Our baby boy was a little different from the girl. He cried a lot and did not allow anyone to carry him except for me. We were concerned that he could not hear well because he seldom reacted to loud noises. We took him for a test and were told that he was perfectly fine. He was also not feeding too well, so doctors recommended complementing breast milk with a formula, which he was not tolerating either. Eventually, a test revealed he was lactose intolerant. They prescribed him an expensive special formula. A single can of the special milk was priced at $25, and he needed at least a can per week. I could not eat any dairy products either because I was also breastfeeding. I was not comfortable with that diagnosis and strongly rejected it. Exercising our faith once again. Once again, we exercised our faith. We declared and prayed over him daily, to the honor and glory of God. That little, frail, sickly, premature baby is at the moment of writing this book a very active, happy, and healthy, almost 7-year-old boy who has no problems with lactose. He actually enjoys eating ice cream of all flavors. I don't have words to express how grateful I am for my kids. They are my gifts from God. They changed my life completely. But most of all, I'm grateful because although doctors predicted that if I ever had children, they would be sick or abnormal, God proved these predictions wrong. My children are healthy.